Welcome to Resting Binge Face, where two friends watch seasons of TV shows and we talk about it. I'm Adam McCoy.
And I'm Amanda Kathleen. And Adam and I work in television. We also watch a lot of television. We also immerse ourselves in every day talking about television. And we decided to do a podcast because we do it anyway.
We might as well let people listen.
We might as well see if anybody wants to hear us complain or talk about television shows.
So for our first episode today, we are talking about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Which, if you've lived under a rock or your name is Adam McCoy and you've never seen It's Always
correct.
Sunny.
I apologize many times in my life for not watching the show. I get a lot of criticism, but I finally started watching it, and I think it's a good show.
You think it's...
I think it's a good show. There's some hype for it for a reason.
I have been watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia from the very beginning. I was an avid fan.
Since 2005.
Since 2005. So it started fall 2005 on FX. And I was looking back at the time of like how many shows were out, like how many comedy shows were out, and wanted to see if there was any in cable. And I realized there isn't. Like It's Always Sunny was
the first.
like one of the first cable comedies to like make it.
Especially on FX, right? Like there were no other shows.
Well, I think like there was like, oh, what's that show with the guy that played The Thing?
The Shield?
The Shield. I think The Shield was on.
That's a comedy?
No, but I'm just saying, like, I think they had some shows, but they didn't have.
Yes. But comedy shows particularly.
And particularly,
FX,
or cable, like the only comedy you could watch would be on Comedy Central, but they didn't have anything like It's Always Sunny.
Well, nobody had anything like It's Always Sunny.
Mm-mm.
Totally different.
Okay, so in this podcast, we're going to give history on the television shows, if they're older. If not, we'll talk about the newer shows, and we'll do it as eloquently and as accurate as possible, but that might not happen.
As this is very conversational, like we talk about it every day, we might not have all the facts in front of us,
No.
but we'll discuss. So I thought it was very interesting. I had never seen the show before, and I started watching it, and I found a link to a video that talked about just a brief history of it, and it's a pretty interesting history.
Yeah.
Rob McKinney, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name, he started this off as like just a short film to just kind of pass the time. He was an actor, and he wanted something to do.
Yes.
So he shot a short film, which eventually turned out to be in one of the episodes of season 1 where Charlie has cancer.
Yes.
So he goes to, the whole short film is him going to a friend's house, trying to borrow a cup of sugar, and then in doing so, he's told that his friend has cancer, and he's very not supportive about it. So that turned into the later episode. But he started as a short film, and then they decided to start shooting some very inexpensive episodes themselves, and then they shopped it around to other networks.
All the networks,
Yeah.
and nobody wanted it. And FX was like, "You guys did this for $200?
Go for
Yes."
it. Which brings up another point. Like they were really worried about FX went with them because it was just so inexpensive to do,
Right?
And they hadn't done a comedy show, which is one of the things I really like about the show is the theme music. Which is kind of very whimsical. But they picked that because it was a public domain and it was free, so they didn't have to pay for that music at all. And they kept it, at least for the first seasons that I've seen so far. So
that's their theme song.
Which I think it's a great contrast to how horrible the people are on the show, and then it cuts to the very dancey music that you hear in between the takes.
Yeah, we'll play that now. You can listen to that right now.
So this is our first episode of the podcast, and normally we're going to watch one season of a show.
We are.
But in this case, since the first season, Danny DeVito was not a part of the cast, and he became such a major part of the show that for this we thought it was necessary to watch the first 2 seasons.
Yes, I was adamant about you watching the second season because it's a change in dynamics.
Yes, it's a difference.
Yes.
It's a difference in the tone. Both seasons are good.
So as a person who's never seen it, what are your thoughts on the first 2 seasons of It's Always Sunny?
I really enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. I know everyone's told me that for several years, but I believe it lived up to the hype. It was very entertaining, and it was so different. And going back now and realizing that it aired in 2005.
Right.
But it's still so different now.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe what it would like to watch it in 2005.
I mean, the pilot episode is probably one of my favorite episodes, and I can't say that for a lot of television shows. Like, the pilot's usually rough. But their
Very good.
pilot is amazing, and it's one of my favorites. And it literally makes fun of blacks and gays, like in the first.
Right away.
Right.
Straight
like,
out.
Like, I don't think today, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know if they could pull it off today, starting off that way. But that's what's so great about it is the things they do are so wrong.
Yes.
And so bad, but you still like the characters. And you don't resent them for what they're doing. It's just something weird about the dynamic that you still actually like them, even though they're doing these things that I don't think there's any malice behind what's going on.
I mean, when Mac is talking to the black guy, the token black guy in the episode, and he's like, so when you say sister, are you all related, or are you not? Like, he's earnestly just trying to figure out, like...
Yeah, you're like, oh, he doesn't know. He's
right, but he's oblivious to what he's actually asking, but he honestly just doesn't know.
So
he just wants to know.
You feel awkward for him,
yes,
and for the whole situation, not just for him, but for the whole situation. But you still don't resent him for it.
Yes.
So yeah, it's very, very interesting, and it's every episode, just you think, you see the first one and the next one, oh, something else. It just keeps going on with more dramatic things that they do. So it's very entertaining. The second season, they introduced Danny DeVito, and to go back to the history part of it, that was because FX, after the first season, said if you wanted to come back, you need an A-lister, or at least a big star to be part of it. So they were very lucky because apparently Danny DeVito was a fan of the show.
Oh,
so
really?
He watched the show before he was on it, and they offered him the part, and he took it.
So he knew he wanted it.
And so he knew, and from the very get-go on the first episode of season 2 when he enters, it's like he didn't miss a beat. It's like he's been a part of the show the whole time. So he fit right in, which was great.
Yes, and I think the second season, watching the first season, it's like you get the layout of the show. And like, okay, these are terrible people. They're going to do terrible things, and we get it. But like the second season comes in, and they really start to get into the groove of Charlie and Frank, because their weird friendship thing like evolves over the seasons. So you get that start of that in the second season, and you also get the start of like Mac and Dennis and Dee like do their own thing. Like they evolve. Eventually, they will evolve into the hot messes they are today. Yes.
There are hints of it at the beginning, but they really double down as the show goes on. That's the thing that I like about it. The first season versus the second season, they're both great seasons.
They are.
But I think the first season, it's edgier. It's not quite as polished. I think what the issues, the way they're tackling the issues is a little more in your face.
Yes.
And so it's a little more streamlined, and it's a little more plot driven for the show.
Right.
In the second season.
Yes.
The first season is about what can we do this episode to either shock you or make you laugh.
Yes.
And there may be a cohesive, total overarching story a little bit.
Right.
But in the second season, they really weave it all together to more of a narrative storyline for the whole season and for the whole show, I guess, upcoming.
Yes.
They really put it all together.
Yeah.
But to me personally, on this, I think the first season is just, it was, I guess because it was so shocking to see the way they were doing things.
Right.
And it seems to be a little edgier. I really have a soft spot for the first season, but I really enjoy that cohesive story unit on the second season.
I mean, once Danny DeVito comes in, it's like, it makes it. It makes a show.
It makes it a show.
Yeah.
The first one was almost like a series of short films.
So do you have any favorite episodes?
Favorite episodes?
Yes.
I really enjoy the last episode of season 1. Charlie gets molested.
It's one of my favorite episodes.
The best. When they bring the doll out and the uncle is watching him on where the doll, show us on the doll where you were touched.
He's just like, yeah. Show me where the doll's touched.
That may be my favorite. And then also Principal Belding from Saved by the Bell makes an appearance as the coach who was accused of pedophilia. Which is
Mac's very upset that he never got touched.
He didn't get picked. So yeah, that may be my favorite episode.
Yeah, it's also a great episode because it introduces the McPoyle twins.
It does, yes.
And they are just a wonderful, like, Like in season 3 especially, like they pop up a lot, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah, they make a couple more appearances in season 2. But that's probably my favorite episode, is the last one of season 1.
Charlie gets molested, yeah. That's a great episode.
The things you say, just saying the titles of these shows, is so awkward to even say out loud.
One of my favorites in season 2 is the 3rd episode, where it's entitled Dennis and Dee Go on Welfare, and that's my favorite.
Yes, and get addicted to crack.
Like, the whole part of them just sitting on the stoop drinking 40s.
It's pretty good.
Is hilarious, and then they go try crack, and then they're hooked on crack, and then they have to, at the end, like, wean themselves off
because they were getting on crack originally to get on welfare. Because they had to have a drug test.
Yes, but then they just ended up addicted to crack.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a good episode. Yeah, every episode. I can't think of a bad episode in the first 2 seasons.
Right, there's more that shine more than others, but they're all very good. And then obviously, Charlie Goes America all over everybody's asses.
Yeah, we're going to go America all over their asses.
All over their asses. The fact that because I'm from New Orleans, so they do the whole New Orleans bar.
New Orleans bar. And that's when they introduce Vietnamese Russian roulette in the back room.
That's my favorite part when they go down to like, they've stopped shop. They're like, no, we're shutting everything down. And they go down in the basement, and then you see Frank.
Christopher Walken, Deer Hunter style.
Russian roulette with the Koreans.
Maybe
and it just ends with the gunshot.
Maybe things got out of hand.
And I love it. And you know what's funny is that when you watch It's Always Sunny, like when you see it for the first time and you look at all these characters, would you have thought ever that Charlie Day would be the number one out of all that class?
Yeah, I know. Especially not the first time you see it.
No. Yeah. Like Charlie Day is like the breakout star of It's Always Sunny.
Although there's something about him. I know he's got a little something to him.
But like he's in blockbuster movies.
With Ice Cube.
I don't
know if that's a blockbuster or not, but
the was it Pacific Rim?
Oh yes.
Yeah, he's in that one. Like who would have thought that oh yeah, Charlie Day's gonna be big.
He's gonna be the one.
He's gonna be the one
that really breaks out.
I think all of them are hilarious.
They're all fantastic. I can't imagine anybody else in the show.
No.
But I think part of that is because it started off with the original 3. Yes. The 3 guys.
Yes.
And they're the ones who kind of, from the very beginning, so they've lived
created the show.
This part, and they've created the show.
Not to mention they both of Charlie's wife, who plays the waitress, and then Dee, who's
is now married to
Rob in real life.
Brings it all together.
It's just a family.
And they just had their 13th season, right?
They just had their 13th season.
That's a long time for a show.
I think there's a 14th season, because I went on IMDb and it said 14, but they didn't say like the names of them, and I'm like, is there really going to be a 14th season?
It didn't seem like I didn't hear that it was on the bubble or anything.
Right.
I think it's still a pretty high-ranking show up there, right?
I mean, money.
Yeah, as they get more famous and the show gets more popular, maybe they want more money.
Yes. So on the Bingeability, 1 being I can only watch 1 episode a day, I can't do this, and then 5 being I'm gonna watch 2 episodes at once because I need to get this into my brain as quickly as possible. So I
have a complicated answer for this.
Okay.
So as I watched the first season, I still really love the show. I just didn't think it was that bingeable. I didn't feel like I had to watch the next episode.
Uh-huh.
So if it was just the first season, I would say it's a 2.5 to 3.
Oh, okay.
For the first season. Once the second season started and they had that bigger overarching storyline, I would say probably a 3.5, 4 out of 5.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 3.5.
Okay.
Out of 5.
So 3.5
for Bingeability.
For Bingeability. I can't really give an honest answer because I've seen all these episodes so many times. I could just literally have them in the background and like do something else.
But you also watched them when you couldn't binge them, so you had to watch them as they came out. If you watched from the beginning.
Correct. Yes. But I've also, there've been periods in my life when they've been on Netflix and Hulu where I will just leave them on and watch.
So what would you think your answer would be? If you can't give a definitive answer.
Probably like 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say 4. But I feel like that's not fair because I've seen a lot.
Okay, I'll take that.
Okay.
When I was watching the second season and Danny DeVito came out, and he was just so right for the part. And like something about, it feels like he's just playing Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Which is funny to me. That's what he is. So I was thinking about, it feels like everybody knows Danny DeVito. but I don't think there's the one iconic role that he has that, like, you know, everybody knows him for.
Right.
So I was trying to think, like, the top 3 Danny DeVito roles. So I have 3.
Okay.
But I didn't tell you about this. So
Right.
yeah, off the top of your head, what would your 3 most iconic Danny DeVito roles, or your top 3 Danny DeVito roles?
Not including It's Always Sunny?
Not including It's Always Sunny.
Okay. Well, obviously, shoot, what's the one with the girl?
The one with the girl.
All of them, the one with the girl.
Yeah, normally girls in a lot of the movies.
No, the one based on the book from
Matilda.
the 90s, Matilda.
I was betting you were going to say that.
Obviously, Matilda's number 1 because I was a child at the time when it was on. Number 2 is actually Junior with
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Nice. Yeah.
Because the concept of Arnold Schwarzenegger being pregnant and Danny DeVito's there.
And then also he was with Danny DeVito.
In Twins.
Or
I know, I was
Twins.
going to say Twins too. But also I was going to say Throw Mama from a Train. So I guess 4.
Okay.
So those are my
yours.
top.
All right.
Those are my top. But Matilda, obviously, because it was, you know, during the time.
During the time. I would have to say Throw Mama from the Train is on my list for sure. Batman Returns. You got to remember the Penguin.
Oh, he was so
He's
good in
so
that
good in that
movie. No, can I switch my answer?
Yeah, not too late. Can't take it back. I get the credit for that one.
Oh, gosh.
So yeah, definitely that was just a fantastic role for him. And probably Taxi, which is a show that not a lot of people watch, even though, because that again is just so Danny DeVito. He's so angry all the time, which is, it's just a great role. So those are probably my 3. But Matilda is on the list as well, probably further down. But I totally get that.
Wherever you grew up in time of Danny DeVito,
Yes.
you have like lots of options.
But I think anyone who's seen Batman should have that on the list.
God,
How could you forget it?
why don't you shame me some more?
Tim Burton classic.
Jeez. Okay, so overall we like I love It's Always Sunny.
Yes,
You
I think
like
it's
Always Sunny.
fantastic.
I don't think you're in love with it yet. You're like in the honeymoon stages where you're not like
Well,
fully...
it is different. This is brings up a point as well. When you're binging a show and you've never seen it before,
Right.
Sometimes you don't get that attachment to the show when you have to wait
Yes.
a week and then a whole season to watch the next season. Like
Yes.
sometimes you build a stronger connection. I think that's
also this has been building in my life. It's a part of me for 13 years. Like it's a big long.
And plus, I've been hearing for 12 or 13 years how great the show is,
Right.
which is true. I love the show. I think it's fantastic. It's just it's so new. 2 days I've been watching the show.
For 2 days.
For 2 days,
The show.
but I think it's great. I can't think of another show like on the air
Right.
that is equivalent to this.
It's a good show. Okay, so the ending segment, which I thought of as I was binging TV shows, because I'm an avid TV show binger, is when you're watching Netflix, they have the skip the intro button.
Yes, the all-important skip the intro.
Yes. So I thought, looking back at some of the shows of 2005 that were on during It's Always Sunny, watching them if you had the ability to skip the intro, would you skip the intro?
Okay.
So let's start with It's Always Sunny. Do you skip the intro for It's Always Sunny?
I do not.
No,
I really
you
like
wanna listen to that song?
I think it's fantastic.
The public domain.
Yes, it's just such an upbeat song. I like it.
Yeah, you don't have to. It's very short too.
And
You
it's
really
short,
don't
yes.
have to skip it.
Don't endure a lot.
Correct. So the next one that was on during 2005, That 70s Show. Do you skip the intro for That 70s Show?
That one I do not skip.
Because you want to
Also,
sing along
it's
to
a
it.
very it's a rockin' song. What about you? Do you skip it?
No, I don't skip it. I listen to it pretty regularly. I mean, I'm not in a hurry to get to
The next
the
episode
next episode of
That 70s Show.
I can listen to it.
Fair point.
Arrested Development, which was on its last season in
Yes.
2005. Do you skip the intro?
I do skip the intro. No.
I do
It's
also,
not-
because
yeah.
I don't really necessarily need
I don't feel
the recap of who this family is.
Yes, I will admit I skipped that intro.
I mean, you watch it once, you get it.
Yeah,
You're like, this is a family, and they're dysfunctional.
they're having some problems.
Yes.
And they're going to get into more problems.
They're going to get more problems. My Name is Earl, which is like not the longest intro ever.
Oh. I honestly
I'm pretty sure it's just him saying,
can't
My name is Earl.
remember the intro to that show.
It's just him going, My name is Earl.
I think if you can't remember it, it's probably not bad enough for you to say you
Right.
would skip it. So maybe I wouldn't skip that one.
I think it might be too short to even
I think you're
skip.
right. It's just, my name is Earl.
My name is Earl.
And it goes
Boom.
on. Yeah.
And then The Office.
No. It's
You
just,
don't skip it?
No.
I skip it.
I guess it depends on how much I'm binging. If I'm only watching a few episodes, I don't mind it. If I'm going to have a marathon
Right.
and see 4 or 5
You're
episodes in a
gonna
row,
skip it.
I will eventually skip. But for 2 or 3, I'll watch it. It's a nostalgic thing.
Right.
I like the intro for that.
I'll skip it. I mean, it's not as melodic as It's Always Sunny. It's just,
Yes.
So I'll go ahead and skip it. I don't really need to hear that song over and over again.
I think after the 4th time watching it, if I'm watching in a row, I would probably skip it. But the first few times, no, I wouldn't skip it.
No.
No.
Well, thank you guys for listening. We hope you got anything out of that conversation.
And it was coherent enough for you to understand.
If you didn't watch It's Always Sunny, now you want to watch It's Always Sunny. I hope that we inspire you, maybe. I don't know. Please like us, share us. Come back next week.
Come back again.
And we'll do this all over
Let us
again.
know what you liked and or didn't like.
Please.
Don't tell us what you didn't like. Just tell us what you liked.
I guess you could say. If you didn't like Adam, that's fine.
Hey.
Okay, great. Bye.